I didn't cry when she said it. I stood alone in my kitchen, holding my phone like it was heavier than it should have been. The kettle screamed on the stove, forgotten. My daughter's voice, once soft, once warm, now sounded measured, distant. "There's no room for you, Mom." She paused, then added quietly, "It's better this way." The call ended. No argument, no anger, just a polite goodbye. And just like that, I became someone who no longer belonged. The silence that followed was louder than shouting. The house I had lived in for 35 years suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I was a guest who had overstayed. A mother before anything else, before I was unwanted. I was needed. I remembered the night she was born, the smell of antiseptic, the fear. The moment they placed her in my arms, and my whole world rearranged itself without asking permission. I built my life around her small breaths. I skipped meals so she could eat. I wore the same coat for 10 winters so she could have a new one. I stayed up through fevers, nightmares, heartbreaks I couldn't fix. Motherhood never felt like sacrifice back then. It felt like purpose. 2. When love starts sounding like control somewhere along the way. Love changed its language. I gave advice when she didn't ask for it. I worried out loud. I compared her choices to the harder path I'd survived. I thought I was helping. She thought I was judging, and maybe we were both right. When she married, I smiled even when my stomach tightened with fear. When she struggled financially, I offered help too often. When she cried, I remembered her as a child and forgot she was grown. That's the thing about mothers, we don't always know when to loosen our grip. 3. The grandson I loved from afar. I met my grandson through photos. A tiny fist, a wrinkled nose, a smile that looked painfully familiar. I bought gifts that stayed unopened in my closet. I memorized his milestones through social media captions written by strangers. I loved him without ever holding him. And when I heard about the baptism, my heart leapt. Because baptisms are about belonging, or so I thought. 4. The invitation that never came. Days passed. No call, no message, no envelope in the mail. I told myself I was being dramatic. New parents forget things, so I called. That's when she said it. "No room for you, Mom." "Oh, we'll talk later. Not it's complicated." A room. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the microwave door. When did I become someone you exclude? 5. Sunday morning. I still woke up early that Sunday. Habit is a cruel thing. I ironed a blouse I wouldn't wear, prepared a dish no one would eat, placed the baptism gift on my bed and opened it one last time. A silver bracelet, his name engraved, a date carefully chosen. I closed the box. Then I stayed home. Out of love. I whispered prayers meant for a church I wasn't allowed to enter. I asked God to protect a child who didn't even know I existed. And then I cried slowly, honestly, without shame. 7. What no one prepares you for, no one warns you about this part of parenting. When your child becomes the gatekeeper, when access to love requires permission, people talk about boundaries like they're painless. They aren't. Boundaries feel like grief dressed up as growth. 8. The message that changed the silence that evening. My phone buzzed. A message from my daughter. He cried the whole time. I don't know why. I kept thinking of you. I stared at the screen. I typed 1,000 replies in my head. I sent only one sentence. I lit a candle for him today. The typing bubbles appeared, then disappeared. 9. Learning to go home to yourself. Weeks passed. I stopped waiting by the phone. I started going on walks. I planted flowers. I joined a book club where no one knew my history. I learned that loneliness doesn't mean emptiness. Sometimes it means space to heal. 10. The knock at the door. One quiet afternoon, there was a knock. I opened the door. She stood there, eyes tired, arms shaking, holding a baby wrapped in blue. "I didn't know how to come back," she whispered. I stepped aside. "You're home," I said. Final reflection. I learned that love doesn't end when you're pushed away. It waits. That forgiveness doesn't need an apology to exist. That sometimes the strongest mothers are the ones who learn when to be silent and when to open their arms. If you're a parent reading this, standing outside a door you once built, go home, tend to your heart, and when the door opens, choose love over pride. Guess family, like faith, often returns quietly when it's finally ready.